You know, for most people in the Appalachian region, up in the hollers and high on the mountains, foothills, or wherever, treating your neighbor with respect and kindness was just a way of life. And most people, that's the way they lived. But you know, occasionally there's hatred that's just unjustified no matter where you go. And such was the case with Gordy. Gordy was born to a young woman named Lily, and Lily had Gordy out of wedlock just a little after the start of World War I. And that was something that folks frowned upon. But Lily, she made the best of it. She done the best she could to raise Gordy. And they didn't have a lot in life, but they had that little shack and that little farm, and they made do. Now, when Gordy was just a few months old, he took a bad fever, and Lily thought she lost Gordy. But somehow Gordy made it. But the high fever, it took Gordy's ability to talk and hear all at the same time. And folks around, they just said it was nature's way of keeping Gordy from spreading the evil that he was. Up above our place was a moonshiner. His name was Amos. You know, moonshine back then was just a part of life, and most folks dabbled in it. Amos, he was a drunkard, and he was a mean one at that. And he especially had it out for Gordy. And if he ever had the opportunity, he was all time a spiting Gordy. He would tell all the folk around just how evil Gordy was. He would tell them Gordy was the one of robbing their hen nests and stealing the mater from their patches and different things. But the fact of the business was, Amos was the one doing the stealing. One time, in passing, Amos even split Gordy's brow with the butt of his rifle and spit on him as he walked away. Now mind you, Gordy was a big, strong brute of a man, and he could have easily took care of Amos. But Gordy's heart, well, he was of a special kind, and his mom was quoted as saying many a time, "One of these days, these folks are going to see Gordy for the special person he really is." And Lily believed that with every beat of her heart. Now Amos had a daughter, and her name was Anna. And she always tried to befriend Gordy. And I guess it was fair to say that Anna was the only person outside of Gordy's mama that ever showed or cared anything for Gordy. And ever she had the chance, she would slip off to Lily's and Gordy's, and she'd normally take her little brother with her. And she'd say, "Sammy, now you mind you don't tell Pa we went to Gordy's, 'cause he'll be awfully mad." Nana and Sammy, they didn't have no one to look after them when Amos was off at the still. Their own mom had passed away, giving birth to little Sammy, so they was pretty much all alone themselves. Anna would work with Gordy. She could learn to read and write. He never went to the school, so she would try to teach Gordy his alphabet and teach him to write his name. Boy, Gordy's face would light up when he seen Anna coming with Sammy. Sometimes he'd even get down on all fours and he'd ride little Sammy around on his back like a horse, and Sammy would just giggle and laugh. One evening, when Amos had took to the still, it was normally the next morning before he'd show back up, so Anna saw it fit to work with Gordy on his writing. But for some reason, Amos had come back up the trail. He caught Anna sitting with Gordy on a rock, and he flew off and he pistol whipped Gordy. Then he grabbed Anna and commenced kicking and slapping on her. He gave her a pretty good whooping back down the trail toward home. That night, Amos got drunker. He told Anna that he was going to kill Gordy come morning and said he was going to rid the world of that evil. And he swore to Anna he was going to take her down to the river and cleanse her. Now, the farther up into the night it got, Amos just got drunker. He nailed the back door shut so Anna couldn't slip out with Sammy. And he sat up sitting at the table. He sat there sipping on his whiskey, and he just kept repeating himself what he was going to do for Gordy come sun up. When Amos had finally had his fill and passed out at the kitchen table, Anna got Sammy and they went up into the loft, just trying to steer clear of Amos until he slept it off. Anna had finally drifted off to sleep sometime through the night. She woke kind of choking on smoke. Somehow in Amos's drunken plunder, he'd got the cabin afire. Anna quickly got Sammy and she came down out of the loft into the smoke and flames. And she tried to feel her way around and get Amos awake. Somehow she knocked a kerosene lantern on the floor. And that's when the fire went to climbing the front door. Anna desperately tried to rouse up Amos, and when he finally got awake, he was choking on smoke, as was Anna and her little brother. And that's when Anna did the only thing she knew to do. She wrapped herself around little Sammy, and she got down on the floor and began to pray. She began to pray for God to send an angel to come in there and get him. That's when she had no more and got the prayers out of her mouth, when the front door busted wide open. She felt two of the strongest hands she'd ever felt in her life reaching to get her. They got her and Sammy both and carried them outside to safety. And they didn't even have a mark on them. When they got outside and got out of the smoke, she could see it was Gordy from the glow of the firelight. And she watched as Gordy went and dipped himself into the mule trough. She sat and watched it. He run back to the porch and ran into the flame-filled cabin. He went in trying to save Amos. And all her and Sammy could do was watch in horror as the roof began falling in. But just like a miracle, Anna and Sammy watched as Gordy carried Amos out from the fire and lay him in the water-filled trough. Gordy began to rub water on Amos to cool him down. That's when I seen a tear run down my daddy's cheek for the first time in my life and hold my sister Anna's hand. Then he said, "God forgive me, please." He said, "Anna, I've had nothing but hate, unjustifiable hate for Gordy, and he showed me love. That night, my daddy gave his life to the Lord." At his baptism, Dad talked about his life and his hatred and his bitterness inside at his older brother Frank dying and leaving him in the war. Then he told how Gordy was an angel sent from God to show him the light in his darkest hour. The angel being Gordy. That's when Lily walked up and she handed an envelope to my sister Anna. And it was addressed to Miss Lily Adams from Frank Tenner, Private First Class, World War I. June 1917 it read, Dearest Lily, I've carried the news you are with my child with pride. Lily, I want to marry you as soon as I get back home. First thing I'm going to do is sober up my little brother Amos, call up the preacher. Lily, I promise I will love you and we will raise a strong family. This little spat over here, it won't last long. I love you, Lily, and I'll see you soon. P.S. If we have a son, what do you think of calling him Gordon? Love always, Frank. And just like that, my dad had his salvation. Uncle Frank had seen to it.